Welcome back to the Winded Podcast. I'm your host, Seamus Sullivan, and today we have a very special guest. You know, we love women in sports here on the Winded Podcast. So, who better than to have on than the manager of game presentation, Julia Boutin, is with me today. Julia, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. So happy to be on here with you. Thanks so much.
Of course. No, it's my pleasure. Julia, you have a very impressive career. You've spent some time with other professional organizations. You were a radio producer, RIP, the Arizona Coyotes.
I know.
But you are New England kind of born and raised and, kind of made your career out in Arizona. How is it being back in New England?
It's wonderful. It's been a dream to work for New England sports, specifically in Boston. So trying to build a name for myself out here on the East Coast is wonderful. It's been quite a ride. It's only been about 6 months for me at this very moment. So I feel like already kind of carving that path out for myself. So I'm really excited to bring some, West Coast trends to the East Coast. So
Love that. You did not bring the West Coast weather, though, with this past winter. You got the formal New England weather treatment for your first winter back.
I did. And I actually learned how to drive in Arizona. So this was my first time driving in snow. So it
Oh,
was
okay.
fun.
Snow, the potholes, everything that comes with Massachusetts drivers. I mean, that's a different environment, I'm sure, than Arizona.
Yes, my road rage is accepted here though, so that I really.
Yes. Yeah. In Arizona, they're probably like, "What is that girl upset about? It's
Yes.
Arizona. It's 90 degrees."
Yeah, and I also don't look old enough to be driving, so, sometimes I get
Yeah.
the weird looks.
I was gonna say, I mean, your resume is very impressive, and I'm like, I don't even know how old you are, but I'm like, she could be, 20 years old and have this resume. It's very impressive. Let's get into the manager of game presentation position. What, for those that don't know, what does that entail? Because I think people walk into a stadium and they just assume all that stuff just does itself.
No, 100%. There's 2 different nicknames for my position that gets tossed around. The first one is Director of Fun.
Okay.
And then the second one is VOG, Voice of God, because basically what I do is I write out a script for the entire show from when doors open to doors close. And that includes music, video board content, on ice games, contestant, interaction, fan interaction, everything that goes on inside of the arena that's not really the actual sport that's being played is something that, I come up with creatively and produce. So what I do is I sit in one spot on a headset and I direct an entire control room full of staff that are operating, different things to operate the control room board, replays, music, all of those people. And I work hand in hand with a technical director who, if you've ever seen people go viral, like take one, take this, swipe X, like that's our technical director. So he's in charge of what camera shots are actually going on the board. And I am the one that provides the script for everyone to follow. So, and then on top of that, there is a team of stagehands that are on the floor and running around the arena getting contestants, making sure giveaways are being given out, all of the fun stuff. And the VOG thing comes into play. It really is me just voicing things to happen and everything gets triggered.
I'm picturing like a ringleader in a circus with all the moving pieces going around and you
Yes.
just telling people to go where. That is great. The vibe of Fleet Games, I have not been to one yet, and as you know, I had Elena, your in-game host, on a few weeks ago. It must just be so fun. Not that male professional sports are less fun or less engaging, but it's a different environment that you have to work with. How does that kind of change, what you do in your position?
That's a great question because it actually has changed immensely for me. And I'm actually really still in the learning process and trying to improve every single day. But I do have a background in working in the NHL. So coming from the NHL to the PWHL and my job being focused on the fan base for each league is immensely different. So, everything that I'm used to, just music taste and what people find funny or entertaining has gone 180 for me. So, I can even own up to the fact that I've made a couple of mistakes and thinking that, it was gonna do well with fans, and it doesn't do as well in the PWHL, maybe as what I'm used to in the NHL. So, it's been a really, really great learning curve for me and an adjustment to make, but I've absolutely loved working in women's sports because, even just working with the players and, getting ideas from them and kind of what they wanna hear during warm-ups and other things like that has been way easier to work with, and the fan base is so loyal and committed, and I absolutely appreciate that, and I'm always looking to hear for feedback from fans, and, they're there to party, and they're really, really there to support the team, and with it being just such a new league, it's that alone has been another, learning curve in itself because instead of, joining a team where their show and all of their traditions have been implemented for years and years and years, we're at a point right now where we're trial and error. We're figuring things out. What do fans like? What did they not like? What is going to stick for years to come? So it's been a really great adjustment so far.
That must be cool to be able to have your kind of fingerprints on like the foundation of building those traditions. You go to a Bruins game and it's like there's a lot of the things that have been going on since when I was a kid and would go. So to be a part of those early stages of setting, what people can look forward to in between intermissions or what music is going to play at, the third period when it's a tight game must just be really cool to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. It's very, very rare in my position specifically across all sports to have this opportunity to really build a show from scratch. Because yes, so many teams have been implemented for so long and you're not going to change the Bruins goal song. But it was nice because I actually came in, this is my first season with the Fleet. It's their third season as a league in the league. I came in and I did change the goal song and I changed the win song and, I ended up getting some pretty great feedback, but which I'm happy about. But it's been really nice to know that I have the ability to do that without an extreme amount of backlash. So
That's great. You, I would imagine being a woman's professional team, there's a lot of it's like a gateway for some fans that, maybe it's their I'm gonna go to this because it's a woman and it's their introduction to hockey and it's their first kind of environment and it's something like that. So be able to like create what the environment is that, for a lot of people, a lot of kids is probably their first professional hockey game, or definitely a lot of girls, seeing, players that look like them out on the ice to be able to, you know, be the voice of God for that experience and be, oh, I'm going to go to another hockey game, or maybe I'll go to a Bruins game now, or maybe, get more involved in hockey has got to be really cool.
yeah, that's definitely the top thing. Even if as cheesy as it sounds, or really at the bottom line, I love my job so much because of those little girls and even little boys and, all the people that, are looking up to these people that they're role models for them. Well, when I'm able to kind of give them that experience, like you're right, the first ever professional hockey game they've ever been to. And I see, I get to put them up on the video board and, give them that moment or get them a t shirt or, a signed puck. Those are the moments that is what I like love and love about the job. So, it's funny, even just a side story. My mom is a season ticket holder. She loves to come to all the games. And of course, as moms do, they brag about their children. So, usually there's a fan or two that my mom makes friends with every game. And, oh, my daughter does this. But, and as embarrassing as it can be, it's also really great because, I get to go to those people and be like, hey, where are your seats? I'll give them to the camera guys and I'll make sure you guys are up and have a fun night and, get the recognition you guys deserve as our fans. So I really, really love being able to curate special moments for people.
Not that you're, a rookie to big venues, because obviously you worked with the Coyotes, you worked with the Diamondbacks, but the Boston Fleet have a big game coming up in April, and you will be directing the game at TD Garden. Can you talk a little bit about what that means to you as somebody from New England, being in that building and being in charge?
It's point blank dream come true for sure. This has been getting to TD Garden has been the goal ever since I was 18 and throwing t-shirts on the dugout of the Arizona Diamondbacks and really learning what it means to work in sports and work in live events. So, I've always dreamt about coming back home and moving back east. And after 6 years of working in sports, that time finally came. And I was so excited to be part of the Boston Fleet, especially just a new team to one of the best fan bases in the country. And, the TD Garden game actually was a surprise to me after I got hired back in September. So it truly was just a dream come true. And I'm very, very excited to be able to, network and work with the control room staff at TD Garden, and have the help of the people that put on Bruins games every single year and have been there for 20 plus years. So I'm very excited to be able to just connect with, a very implemented team. And it's funny that you brought up even just arena sizes. This will for sure be the largest arena I've ever produced a game myself ever, because with the Arizona Coyotes, the last 2 years of their season, they actually moved to Mullet Arena, which was only a 5,000 persons.
Mhm.
And that's when, I was doing more of my job for them. I did work at the arena with them beforehand, part-time, but yeah, so this will be, if not the largest crowd I've ever had to entertain. So it's nerve-wracking, it's exciting. You know, little Julia is very excited.
Sold out, sold out TD Garden, very exciting. So how was I know you were shadowing last night. What is it how did it feel? Is it starting to feel real that this is what you're gonna be doing in just a couple weeks?
Yes. Yeah, I had the opportunity to go and sit with, all of the staff that I'll be working with, when we go in on April 11th at a Bruins game, and they made me feel extremely welcome. I was able to take a lot of notes, get some new ideas, and it was extremely surreal. The fact that, I was inside of the control room at TD Garden was something I never even thought I was going to be able to get to. To me, it felt like yesterday that I was cold calling people in my position around the country, asking how they got to where they were at. And, here I am 6 years later, 7 years later, and literally living my dream. So it's definitely surreal. And it was just a really awesome moment just to be able to sit up there and be a part of, the crew for the night.
I do wanna go back a little bit because you have background in radio producing, and which I I had Matt Shearer from WBZ News Radio on the other day, and just talking about radio, and I feel like it's a lost kind of passion that, it's the younger generations just don't care for because they have so many options, they don't care for what's on the radio. What was it like working it was a morning radio show, right?
Yes, so I produced a top 40 morning radio show in Phoenix, Arizona. It's called The Morning Mess, and it was great. I actually ended up in that position because of the fact that the Coyotes ended up moving to Utah. So a lot of us were ended up being displaced at the end of that. So, networking and all the things kind of just fell into my lap, but I'm so grateful that it did. It was an amazing experience. Radio was never in the forefront of my brain. It was never something I thought I was ever going to be doing. I truly had not even thought about it before. And mind you, I had never edited audio. I had no experience, and they took a chance on me, which was really great. And again, amazing experience. I got to go in, and it's it is such a lost art, and it's so much there's so much passion behind that job, and you really have to live, breathe, and eat the job. Like, you are not ever not clocked in. So, waking up at 3:45, 4 a.m. in the morning for almost 2 years straight was, a lot, and I was going to bed at 7 o'clock at night sometimes, but, it was worth it, and I made a lot of great memories. I really learned how to brainstorm content and to come up with brand new, fresh, entertaining content every single day is a challenge in itself. And so to be able to kind of learn from the best of the best and people that have been in radio for 30 plus years and have been through all the ins and outs, I'm super, super grateful that I had that opportunity. And I think it translates really, really well for me to get back into sports.
I think going back and looking at some of the clips that I saw from your time there, my favorite radio shows are when the producer is involved in the actual show and not just kind of working the board behind the scenes. And it was great that you had some great moments and great clips where you were like you were like an extra member of the show. You weren't just like directing and doing everything behind the scenes. So that must have been pretty cool to, be able to like, talk and get out there and voice your opinions and get laughs and everything.
Yes, my digital footprints, I'll never be president,
Yes.
that's for sure, but, that's just my personality. I wear my heart on my sleeve. My filter is non-existent, and, I just say how I feel. So, I think it definitely brought an aspect of entertainment to the show, especially if, just from the producer side, especially when I was called on to, share my opinion on the mic. I was very grateful to be a part of our YouTube podcast every single week. So, I had a lot of, moments where I could share my opinion and share stories and things like that. So, it got me a lot more comfortable in front of the camera, whereas I'm so used to be working behind the camera. But I found a love for it. I guess maybe the only thing was just that I don't know if, it was for me in just the sense of the the fame, I guess. Not even that it was very, very highly viewed or anything, but, there was even a couple times I was walking around in grocery stores and people came up to me and were like, "Are you Producer Jules?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am, and I know what you just heard me say last week, and I don't know if I like this."
Yeah.
So, it was very easy to be in a room with 3 people and feel like you're having an intimate conversation, and then for it to be online for the world to see, you forget sometimes. So, but it was
Yeah.
an amazing experience.
That's the difference of modern radio versus radio 20 years ago is that radio personalities were pretty anonymous, and unless you heard them speaking and you were able to connect the dots, you'd be like, "Are you so and so?" But now it's like anybody who puts out any sort of content, there's almost always a video attached to it. So you're not anonymous anymore. So I can see even though you're in a room and you know that you're not necessarily putting video out, people are going to know who you are.
Exactly. But I felt like it was I connected with so many people from that job, and that's what made me really, really happy, and I remember when I left that job to move to Boston and start with the fleet, influx of messages that I received from listeners around the valley in Phoenix was just a lot, and so many people I feel like I connected with that maybe I didn't even know that I did or, changed their opinion about something or made them feel seen in some way. That part I was not really seeing as I was doing it until after the facts, and, that brought me a lot of joy too.
Working in sports is something that you obviously wanted. It was a goal of yours, and you obviously had to start somewhere. I know you were at Arizona State, you were an ice girl, you've kind of worked with the Diamondbacks, you did a bunch of different things. Sports are becoming more kind of mainstream for women and they want to be involved. It becomes more competitive. What advice would you give to a girl who's, say she's graduating high school, going to college, or even that age and wants to break into sports? What advice would you give?
Confidence is key. You need to walk into a room and overpower that room, especially as a woman in sports. When you walk into a room full of, men sometimes that are in this space, you really need to have a personality that is loud and makes you seen and heard. And but in a way that is respected. Because I think the biggest challenge as a woman is confidence and can sometimes come off as, we'll say, mean or things like that, and not stern and confident and strong. It can come off in other ways. So, there's a fine line that you have to walk. Unfortunately, it's just the way that it is, but confidence for sure and networking. To get a job in sports, you gotta know someone that knows someone, and that's really just how it is. That's kind of how it worked out for me as well. Um, even just to take it way back in high school, I was student class president all 4 years. I loved planning proms and the assemblies and all of those things, and I knew I had a knack for something along those lines. And I ended up actually at a job my freshman year of college at Arizona State where I worked for Merrill Lynch and I was working as a consultant assistant and I did not know what I was doing. I was 18 and had zero interest. But the girl that sat behind me was a cheerleader for the Arizona Diamondbacks and said that I would be great at it. So I went, I auditioned here and got the job. And from there, found a love for what my boss was doing at the time, which is the position I'm in now. And, there was some games that I wasn't scheduled that I asked to come in and shadow and learn and take notes. And the biggest thing I think that helped me was one day I was sitting just in the library at school. I think it was my junior year. And I sent out a message on LinkedIn to every single game presentation, director, manager for almost any team around every state. And I got a lot of messages back, and I talked to probably 10 to 15 different people on the phone. And every single one of their advice as well was, it just fell into my lap. I knew this person, I knew this person, it fell into my lap, and here I am, and I learned as I went. And I was like, "Okay, so that's what you gotta do." So that's what I did, and I'm very, very grateful for every single person in my life that has helped me in my career. I have a lot of mentors and people that are rooting for me and, have taken me by the hand and have pulled me up the pegs, and I'm very grateful for everyone that's been a part of that.
You've obviously with, back to the in-game presentation stuff, you have to get a little creative with some of the things to keep people busy. What's kind of, what like, maybe like a big kind of flop that you're like, "Oh, this is gonna do well," and it maybe just didn't land or didn't get people's attention?
Um, so I tried to do something called a genie cam. It did not work at all. And I would play a genie in a bottle by Christina Aguilera. And I just really wanted everyone to go like this and do a little genie dance. It just didn't translate. And that's okay. It completely flopped. But the thing is about live sports is that things are going to flop, things are going to get messed up, and you just got to keep going. Because if you let that thing that happened in first period, second time out affect you, the rest of your show is going to domino effect and things will spiral. So, I love trying new things and, trial and error. I actually kind of love when things go wrong because it just teaches me how to make it right for the next time. And that's just a lesson learned. Every single time I make a mistake, it's just another thing on my resume, it's another thing in my skill set. So, yeah, I think that was probably my biggest flop so far this season.
So for that, was there like a planted example to start it off, or did you just, like, play the music and have the thing up?
So it's funny. So I'll really in detail, when I'm going through, let's say, a live hit with our in arena host, I am now calling for a graphic to go on the board. I am also calling for our in arena host to start speaking and when to do things and when the live shot is going up on the board. There's 6 moving parts just to say go, and it was on me. I, just messed up all of my cues, I messed up all of my calls. The second she started doing the dance to show people what to do, I put up a graphic that said "Genie Cam," and no one saw her do it, and I just went, "Okay, well, I didn't do any of that in the right order, and that's okay." So, sometimes it's hard when you have 50 people in an arena all waiting for your cue and your say to do something. And they all might know exactly how to do it without me even saying anything. But if I cue it incorrectly, their job is to listen to me. So it's a lot of pressure sometimes.
I'm sure Elena still had fun doing the genie dance. I'm
Yes.
sure
I
she
love
didn't
Elena. She's great. Rolls with the punches. I can be a little bit neurotic on game days. So she
she, just in the maybe first 15 seconds of before we even started recording, I'm like, "I understand how you got this job. I understand why you do what you do." She is great. Shout out to Elena. I'm not gonna ask you what your dream job is because I'm not trying to get you hired somewhere else off of, I know you like what you're doing right now. What would be a sporting event, just a blanket sporting event that you would love to be involved in?
That's a great question. I mean, obviously, you have to say the Super Bowl. I mean, that would be amazing. I will say football is just not a sport that I have a lot of experience in. I did do 2 years of in arena football, but professionally, not a lot of experience, but I mean, that would just be phenomenal to have a hand in that show or, the halftime show or anything like that. But other than that, I truly do love working in hockey. I've been working in hockey for years. So I think being able to do the Winter Classic would just be awesome and kind of get out there and be outside. And I think it just draws such an amazing crowd. And I would love to see, some unique activations because you're not inside of an arena and you kind of have different things that you get to work with and different ways to be creative. So I think that would be really, really cool. thing to work.
I think that we should get the fleet at Fenway Park, I think. Who
I
wouldn't love that?
I
Who
think
wouldn't
that
love
would be
that?
amazing. Yes.
I would love to see what you could do with that. I mean, I think we'll get a fleet outdoor game at some point, if not there, if Gillette or somewhere. I mean, the women's game is growing, especially with the star power you have in the whole league. But I mean, look at the fleet with the heroes Megan Keller and Aaron Frankel. What was it like, their first game back, being able to kind of promote what they accomplished in Milan?
It's crazy. We haven't had our first game back yet.
Oh, that's right. You have it.
First game back is on March 17th.
That's right.
So, I have a bunch of things planned though, and I'm very, very excited. We're definitely gonna huge open arms, insane applause, big congrats. They deserve all of it. They're the best in the world. And I'm so, so grateful that they are on the Boston Fleet and that, we're number one in the league. We're leading the PWHL. And yeah, I feel very, very grateful to be a part of it. So I want to do absolutely everything that I can to, make them feel as appreciated as they are.
I like forgot that you guys haven't had a home game since all of this, and
January 28th was our last one.
the media tour that they have been on is unreal, and like you said, very well deserved, and that I stop every time I see them doing something because they just are such good, genuine people, and they just, seem like great. It's so great to see the praise that they've been getting.
Yes, they truly are. Every single player on the fleet has been nothing but kind, genuine, amazing women. And that I've been so grateful to kind of get to know slowly. Specifically, Erin Frankel. I mean, she's probably one of the sweetest people I've ever met. I mean, she's tiny but mighty for sure. And, so it feels good to, put on a good show for them. And, I'm not just entertaining the people in the seats, and they're being entertained as well. They know they can hear everything and see everything that's going on during every time out when they're on the bench. And, it just those things don't go unnoticed to them. And so, I feel very grateful that, they put the trust in me to make sure that they get that recognition. So
That's great. This is, the official Boston Fleet podcast, so if any of them would like to come on, they're more than welcome anytime.
wonderful. I love it. I'll let them know.
Julia, this has been so much fun. It's a real great, like, kind of look behind the curtain because, like I said at the beginning, people walk in and they take for granted the music, the video board, everything that comes with it. And to be, obviously you're part of a team, but to be the one at the controls and kind of running all that is very impressive, and very cool to kind of hear your insights on it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. It's always so, so great to share. It's a very niche little career path that I chose. And yeah, a lot of people are always like, oh, wow, I did not realize how much goes into the back end. So anytime I get to, explain it and share what I do, is always a good moment. So
And it's great for, like we said before, that there's, girls growing up that want to get involved in sports. And I think, most people think the only real position for a woman in sports is like the sideline reporter. And there are so many other examples of ways to get involved. And I think that you showing that you can do this job is just another example of that.
yeah, completely agree. You don't need to be an agent. You don't need to know stats. You don't need to be front facing on a camera. Like, if you love sports, but you were planning on being a wedding planner, this job might be the best for you.
Yes.
You never know. Like, if you love live events and just event planning and being creative, it's so much fun.
Well, that's great. Julia, thank you so much for coming on today. We'll talk again soon, and good luck at TD Garden. Very excited to see what you have planned.
Thanks so much, Seamus. I appreciate it.